You got your own podcast. Is your name on the door?
Yeah, exactly. Right, we good to go? Are we rolling?
Right, we'll give it.
Check your fist length.
Right,
Thanks,
we'll
mate.
give
See you soon.
Give it like 30 seconds.
Do-do-do-do-do.
They say 2 fist lengths is ideal.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel a bit.
No, that's fine. I think there's no need for us to be any closer. You stop coming fucking closer to me, mate. Sit a bit further round, so we're both, centred. Right, fine.
I'm more centered there. What are you talking about?
Right, okay, let's go.
Right, ready? 3, 2, 1.
Guys, welcome to the second William Reid Watches podcast. Joined again by my co-host and friend Josh.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
You always get so breathy.
What do you say in that moment?
You get so breathy, but like when you... Good morning. It's like
It's
you're so
ASMR
nervous, mate.
professional.
It's just a camera, just a microphone. It's just me. Just do the same thing that we've done a million times. I'm
We
going to
do
turn
this a million times.
I'm going to turn this phone on airplane
Maybe
mode.
we should start again.
Do not disturb. No, let's just go. It's fine. Okay, so second William Reid Watches podcast. The first one actually went live last night.
Went up last night.
Went up last night on YouTube. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's at William Reid Watches. So the first one went up last night. I think we've had about 400 views or something.
Yeah.
But listen, it's 400
Hey.
views we never had the day before.
That's a big fact.
So
Big fact.
Yeah, it went up last night. We have some feedback. Some good, some
bad.
negative.
Yeah.
But all in all, a general consensus, it was pretty positive, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
And it's good to know what you guys want to hear and what you want to see from us. It makes our job a little bit easier because we could write scripts all day, but we want to know what you guys want to hear. So drop a comment below.
Yeah, people want the hard hitting.
Yeah, we don't want to give you all of it at once, but give us a chance.
People want the hard hitting questions, so
Yeah.
the hard answers.
But also, thank you so much for everyone who's currently shown support. So if you've shared it on your story, subscribed, commented,
Yeah, it means a lot.
Yeah, it really does. Genuinely, there's people that
Not calling out people that I've known for 10 years that haven't done it, but I'm calling you out because I'm coming for the lot of yous.
Yeah, he's not happy.
But anyway, listen, any support that anyone has shown is
really
greatly
appreciate
appreciated.
it. Yeah, genuinely really appreciate it. There's a lot of people that I didn't even think would. I haven't spoken to in 10 years who tuned in. So
Yeah, it's good.
Appreciate it.
People coming out the woodwork trying to latch onto our podcast success.
That's it. Yeah, our 400 views. Paparazzi down the corridor.
Paparazzi downstairs. Yeah.
We almost didn't make it today.
We almost didn't make it today. Yeah, that is one of my big icks though.
Yeah, we were talking about this
For sure.
Yeah.
You ever I don't know, obviously when you're learning to drive and you come to a set of lights, you're supposed to neutral, put the handbrake on and then put your foot on the brake and you basically just sit with your feet down, not touching anything, and then obviously when the light goes, foot on the clutch into first gear, take the handbrake off and go. But
Takes
in
10
reality,
minutes. Yeah.
no one does that.
Yeah, who's doing that?
But honestly, we were behind a guy today that might have been in his 40s and he was...
It was almost going amber.
Yeah, and he was
By the time
doing
he
the
pulled away.
handbrake clutch down scenario at every
Bless him,
single
he's
set
not
of
wrong.
lights.
He's not wrong in doing it.
I know, but
who's
people
doing
have
that?
places to go, mate. People to see, do you know what I
People
mean?
got podcasts to film.
Podcast to film. Exactly. So what I'm getting at is that's just a wee one of my ex. But yeah,
And
actually,
also didn't make it because of the weather as well.
the weather is outrageously cold
Currently
in Scotland.
snowing.
just now.
Yesterday it was -9. I'm not built for this weather personally.
Yeah, you're from Surrey. -9 yesterday was which I don't know. I was having this conversation with who were we with yesterday. A client,
yesterday.
He was picking up a date just, and I was having this conversation with him yesterday, and I was saying to him, I said, that's the coldest I really ever remember it being in Scotland. And he was like, oh no. When I was younger, I remember it being my wife's birthday, and it was -15 one day. I'm just like, I don't ever feel like it's ever been that cold in Scotland.
No, I don't think it's ever been that
-1,
cold down the
-2,
road.
-3, but -9, nearly -10, it's freezing, mate.
But you look like you don't really dress up. I mean, you've got layers on.
Yeah, I do have a big jacket, obviously, but yeah, I mean, it's just layers. That's the trick to feeling warm.
My Canada Goose is sewed to my skin.
Yeah, it's like when you go skiing into it, it's like you're supposed
You're prepared for it.
You're supposed to have a base layer, a second layer, a third layer, a fourth layer in your jacket, and then actually the more layers you have, the warmer you are. So I just go for the layered thing: vest, t-shirt, jumper, jacket, and I'm usually fine.
And maybe we should have rolled this on to episode 1. It's good. Maybe we talk about how we know each other, how we met.
How we met?
It's quite a funny story. At the same
well,
time.
a lot of people were asking how we met actually. So Josh followed.
So
you followed the work page?
So it was during COVID.
Yeah,
I was watching a lot of YouTube, had nothing really to do, and then I kind of fell into a watch whirlwind. and started seeing who in the UK was doing it, because a lot of it was the US guys I was looking. And I don't mean to sound like I'm licking your ass or anything, but genuinely, the watch account at the time was probably the best watch photos anyone was doing in the UK. Like, genuinely.
Yeah, actually, a funny story. During COVID, I had a friend that I lived with in London, and he was like the most tanned skinned guy on earth. Like, he was so golden brown, like all year round. And just taking pictures of watches on his wrist was just amazing. They were so easy to shoot. So like I done loads of content during then, and that was probably when I got really my first like big likes on photos.
Yeah,
was kind of then some 7,000 likes.
Yeah,
8,000 likes, which was massive at the time. But obviously you followed the page. And
yeah,
then
I followed the work account, and then I think you posted something up sharing your personal gram. So I followed that. You then followed me back. Sorry, two fists.
Two fists.
Yeah. You then followed me back. And then we just kind of started chatting through the DMs, slid into your DMs.
Slid into my DMs.
Funny story was, he was wearing a pair of jeans, and I hit him up, and I was like, I really like the jeans. Where you from? And he was like, oh, they're from this brand. Da, 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 da. What's your address? I'm like, oh, okay, send this guy my address. A day later, they turn up. I don't know how much the jeans were.
Actually, to be honest, I don't even know why I done that.
I don't know why you did that. You did that.
I would definitely would do that now.
Yeah, people don't go DMing him trying to get his uniforms. But from that, you said, look, I'll send you the jeans, but just look after me with a pair of shoes.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because I'd seen your Instagram. You have you had like loads of rare shoes, and I was like, oh, I said maybe if it was obviously like planned.
Yeah,
I was
obviously.
like, oh, I'll send them some jeans. Maybe you'll get me some cool shoes like in the future if I like get some cool releases come out. But yeah, no, that was it. And then
instead, I stung you with shoes.
Yeah, then you stung me with a pair of sale Jordan 4s.
I think you say
you paid retail and charged me 1,100 quid, so
which is probably £500 under what they were currently going for.
Absolute pants.
And you're still in the money, I believe, and they're a great shoe. Anyway, I miss them dearly.
We first met.
So that was that.
We kind of first met. I was in central London. I think you were messaging me at the time, and it was like the hottest day of the year. I was living in London at the time. I was actually in my friend's office just on Liverpool Street, and like notoriously every time you go to their office, you always leave like half cut because they've got beers in the fridge. So I'm like such a sucker for like, it's hottest day of the year. Like you're doing a little bit of work, and like Nico or Ricky's like, oh, do you want a beer? I'm like, yeah, obviously. They had these little like Buddha beers, and in the fridge they were like so good. You ever tried those Buddha beers? They're like a little green bottle, but it's like shaped like a Buddha. They're so good. Anyway, they used to have loads and loads of them. So every time I used to go, I used to have 2, 3, 4 beers, and I'd be like a wee bit. It takes me like 1 pint to get drunk. I had like three bottles of beer, and I'm a bit like ready to go out. And you were at the Ned, which isn't actually far, still in the city.
I think I threw up a photo, and I was around the rooftop pool at the Ned, which is obviously like the hot spot in London.
Yeah, so
let alone on the hottest day of the year.
And I messaged you, and I was like, oh, it's obviously a members club, so it's like rooftop members only. And you were on the committee. I think you told me you were on the Ned committee at the time. So I was like, oh, he'll definitely be able to get us in. So I said to the boy I was with, I said, come, we'll go to the Ned. Like, we kind of finished work for the day. We've not got anything on us. Like, we can just go, let's just go out and have a few drinks. The hottest day of the year. Like, it'll be a good day to go. And we went, I messaged Josh being like, oh, can we come to the Ned? Blah, blah, blah. Like, at this time, he doesn't know I'm already on my way. And he messaged me back saying, like, sorry, mate. Busiest day of the year, like can't get anyone else in. I've already got my mate in. It's like members only. And if you know the Ned, like you can walk into the Ned, you can be downstairs. Once you go to the lift and go upstairs, you can't get upstairs.
You can't get anywhere besides the ground floor, really.
Can't really get anywhere besides the ground floor. And he was like, "No, mate, sorry, can't get you in." And then,
literally through the crowd, I just see the quiff bouncing through. He's so happy with himself. He's with his pal, and I was just like, right, you're here now. You might as well stay.
And then we had a good day, and then that was again the first time we met.
Couple bottles of rosé down.
Yeah, struck up a bit of a friendship from there, and then I think you moved. When did you move to Scotland?
I've been up here now just over 2 years.
Moved to Scotland.
Spend every day with me now.
And then now we work together. So it's a love story.
Romeo and Juliet.
It's a little bit of a love story.
I just had deja vu.
Really?
Yeah.
What, because I said love story?
Yeah, and then I dreamt that I've said...
What is love story again?
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about.
No, sorry, I mean, like, what is deja vu again? Like,
we've done this.
Like, you've done it before?
This has happened.
Oh, okay.
Strange.
Don't know.
Anyway. This is actually the first take this time. We haven't done this 3 times.
Yeah, first take. Hopefully he's hit record, actually.
I can see myself, so I think we're live.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was how we met. I think let's just jump into the pod because we're waffling on a bit now about a lot of crap.
Paris. How was Paris?
Paris was good. Very good. I actually got there in the morning. My flight was delayed. We kind of planned to go to Hermes, me and Max, together. I wanted a Depeche for myself.
Well, give a bit of context as well. So you were telling me before you went that there's a boutique in Paris, which is like the only place you can go to get like a requested bag.
Yeah, it's like a wish list bag. A wish list bag would be like a Kelly, a Birkin or a Depeche, right?
Yeah. And what do you have to do in order to?
So that's the only store that you can book an appointment, go in and leave with a wish list bag on the same day. Whereas most other stores, like you put your name down for whatever bag you're looking for, and it might take you a year, 2 years, 3 years to get that bag. Plus, then you need to buy loads of other stuff in the meantime before you even get considered for it. So, unless you're famous, obviously. But yeah, so you basically book an appointment on the day before. You put your details in. I think you need your ID, email address, whatever. Then they send you an email if you manage to get an appointment for the next day, or they just don't send you an email if you don't get an appointment. So I think I'd done it. Didn't get an appointment, but we had planned to go anyway. My flight actually got delayed. Max got there earlier than me. He went, got himself a Depeche.
Cheers, Max.
Which is like the man's like bag. It's a cool bag. And when I got there, I went to the hotel, dropped my stuff off, and I was like, let's go back to Hermes. Like, let's see like if I can. He was going back to pick the stuff up because he had like left it to collect for later. And they were just like, nah, sorry, no way, sorry, we don't have anything for you. Just basically dismissed me out the shop. And he was like picking up loads and loads of stuff. So I can't know. I was just like, sometimes, listen, it's just your luck. It's a hit or miss. So no, Paris was good.
Where did you eat? What shops you hit?
We went to Kith, not because I think the stuff in there is amazing, but just I like the setting of it.
It's a beautiful store.
It's a cool store. And is it what's it called? Is it? Oh no
Sedell's,
way,
yeah.
Sedell's.
Never
like
been to the shop, but I've got the T-shirt.
It's like you knew I was going to say that. Yeah, Sedell. So that's there. It's like a little restaurant. It's like cool vibes. They play good music.
Yeah.
Although they didn't have any beers, so I was forced to drink a tequila soda.
I mean, it's like a cafe though, isn't it? It's like a very Parisian cafe.
Yeah, but they should have beers. The guy did say we don't have any beers. Like they didn't get delivered today.
So
I was forced to drink a
thing.
tequila soda at like 12:30. So
happy birthday.
It was a bit sobering, but so we had that. It was good. Went there. Went to Hermes. Went to a little watch shop that I know that does leather bands and bracelets for watches. Story. Went there. I didn't actually buy anything. Done a little bit of a mooch about the other stores, LV, Goyard, all the cool places, and then we just kind of called it. Went back to the hotel, lay down for a little bit because I'd been up since 4 a.m. And then Luke came, met up with him, and then we went out for dinner. Went to Gigi, which is just by the Eiffel Tower.
Right.
Luke booked it. It was really nice actually. The food was average, 6.5, 7 out of 10. Extremely expensive. And good, nice view of the Eiffel Tower. They played like live music. It was like a singer and a guitarist like walking around the restaurant, which broke it up a little bit. That was good. And then we went out. We went to Le Bristol, which is a hotel that's got a club downstairs.
That's right, yeah.
Which the music was really good. Don't know why we left there, to be honest. The music was class. It was like 90s R&B, early 2000s. It was like the guy was like, and he was kind of mixing it with like new stuff. It was good. And then we went to, is it Matigon or Matignon or something like that after? I think that's what it's called.
It's probably too cool for me. Too expensive.
Banging techno, like not my kind of place whatsoever. And obviously the thing is in Paris, people smoke indoors because it's like not banned in the UK.
Yeah.
So, mate, Max had a Louis Vuitton jacket on. It was absolutely stinking of smoke the next day.
It's never coming out.
People are just chuffing fags like left, right and centre. It's just honestly
French
not
culture.
my vibe. Was in there for, I honestly think 20 minutes and me and Max were like, looked at each other. We were like, let's go. And we just left. Went back to bed, woke up the next day, and strangely went to a Lebanese place. I was kind of right in the
breakfast or for
mood.
lunch?
I was kind of in the mood for like a kebabi kind of lunch.
Oh, I love a kebab.
A little bit hungover. Oddly, every shop in the world was closed in Paris on Sunday. I don't know if that was in preparation for Fashion Week this week or it was maybe more of that's just what they do on a Sunday. So all the shops were closed, so we just basically sat in the Lebanese restaurant for a couple of hours, and then I changed my flight from 10 o'clock at night to 5 o'clock, and then just went back to the hotel, jumped in an Uber to the airport, and I was home by kind of 6:30, 7 o'clock. So, no, it was good. It was good. It was nice to get away, nice to get out of London, nice to get out of Glasgow and do something different.
Yeah.
Would I rush back? No, it was a bit of a dirty place, to be honest.
It is a dirty city.
They ought to invest some money into the streets and the infrastructure. You walk along like some of the main roads in Paris and there's cigarette butts everywhere.
It's crazy because it's so pretty as well.
Yeah, graffiti. There's like wooden poles holding up like telephone lines. Like I was just like so shocked. It's not the first time I've been, but when I was really taking it in, I was like, God, like you would never. It's like walking down Bond Street in London. You would never see that kind of that kind of like
No, you
dirt
wouldn't.
and filth, like especially not in a real big main city like Paris. So yeah, it was nice. Would I rush back? Probably not.
I mean, you touched on it. Obviously, this week is now Paris Fashion Week. You're ahead of the curve. Week early.
Week early, yeah. That's not because
You're just too cool for Fashion Week.
No, that's obviously a lot to do with the fact that the hotels are a tenth of the price the week before Fashion Week.
No, it makes sense.
But yeah, what Fashion Week's obviously been Louis Vuitton show was just then.
I mean, to be honest, like it's probably the biggest fashion week in the whole world. It's like the first of the year. It's in Paris, and yet all I see every year for the past maybe 5 years is Louis Vuitton. All the other fashion shows just kind of get put on the back burner. They're obviously happening, but I just don't really see much from it.
Yeah, very like a cowboy theme, like Western.
Yeah, so
theme
Pharrell's gone a bit cowboys. Reminds me a bit
few
of Cherry.
Amazing bags. I've seen like an ostrich, like an
like
ostrich
green
leather
monogram
bag, which is very cool. But again, like that'll probably be 12 grand.
Yeah, I mean, we've spoken about it, just the two of us, where it's like, I see all these bags and they're like the most amazing bags. I rarely see them leave that runway show. I never see anyone walking down the street with those
so
bags.
expensive. I mean, look at that one that's $1 million.
No, I know, but then what's the point in like having a fashion show? And people are like, oh, that's so nice.
It's a bit of a flex, isn't it? Like to be like,
it's just one big flex.
Just a big flex. So there were some cool pieces, some cool jackets that I did see, some cool bags, some cool little accessories. Not like a blow away, LV fashion show, but it's always like the most important one, like of that fashion week. I think it's just the biggest. It's the most anticipated. Like the most famous people go to it. Like it's a cool show, to be fair. And what they've done with that new LV hotel and stuff is amazing. Just looks
Did
like
you
a
see
big,
it when you were there?
Yeah, it's just like basically a big massive trunk that they've put on the side of the street, which is like so cool.
I mean, is that just for the construction though? It's not going to stay like that, right?
I don't know. I've got no idea. But yeah, super cool.
And do you think that's going to be like monogram heavy or like super luxe?
What?
The hotel.
The hotel.
Like LV carpets or LV
I don't
bedding.
know, to be honest. I mean, like if you look at the collection now, it's very print heavy.
Yeah.
Like when we were in store and stuff, like all the jackets are like super print heavy. There's loads of like bright colours.
Yeah.
Actually remind me to talk about something that I think is going to come in watch trends this year. Towards when we start talking about watches, I want to talk about a watch brand that I think is going to have a bit of a resurgence this year because of the bright colours.
Let me see if I can add the old...
but yeah, no, it was good. Enjoyed it. What else we got?
Future watch brand.
Yeah, future watch brand. Yeah. Not a future watch brand. One that's been out for a while, but I think's maybe going to have a little bit of a resurgence this year.
Good. We talked about it in the car. It was quite a good conversation that we were having. Football boots.
Football boots, yeah. We kind of touched on it last year.
I don't know why we're so fascinated with football boots. I don't know if anyone actually cares.
Isn't it? It's like 90s, early 2000s. That was like the thing. Like I used to be in love with football boots when I was young.
Yeah, and me. But our question was like, if you could like have a pair of football boots or like see one get re-retroed.
No. The question was, if you could wear one pair of football boots
for the rest of your life
forever, what would they be? And you said what?
I've actually got two now.
No, you can only have one.
Okay, CTR 360.
CTR 360, yeah. Cool boot, Nike.
And you said some rogue Total 90.
Yeah, it was like I think it was the first Total 90. Was it the Air Zooms? And they were like white with a black stripe,
super small tongue,
little square tongue.
Yeah.
They were like kind of like a little bit patent leather.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were goated. They were the ones.
So that just came to my head whilst we were moving on. Right, we will push on. We're now obviously towards the end of January. Very good week we've had. It's now Friday today, by the way.
Yeah, Friday today. We're recording this on a Friday. Yeah, actually, do you know what? This is what I said to you last year, right? I was like, and kind of what I touched on last podcast when people were saying, "Oh, what's your goals for the business this year?" What I had touched on last week was like, I think if you show up and you do things properly and you're at work every day and you're doing your best and pushing things forward on a daily basis, then good things will come. And obviously, we experienced a little bit of a quiet period, probably November, December last year.
Prior to Christmas.
I think that hard work during those months of the posting all the time, constantly getting back to customers, doing all the things that we're supposed to be doing, has paid off. And into this year, 2024, we've had a really busy couple of weeks. I mean, especially this week. Sold loads of stuff this week.
Yeah,
like
five
or six or seven watches.
Bought a lot this week. Sold a lot this week. A load of inquiries.
Loads of inquiries, which is great. It's just good to see a bit of a buzz back in the market again.
Yeah.
And I think that is again what I touched on last podcast is price driven.
Yeah.
And what I think helps is the price increase from Rolex. Definitely helps. Which means that we'll touch a little bit more on this further in the podcast, but what it enables people to do is now buy watches. So if you're a retail customer, let's say if you're a retail customer, you're coming to me as a trader. I've maybe had a watch in stock since before the price increase. So let's say our watches went from 14,000 to 15,000, just for easy round numbers. I've stocked that watch well at the last retail price. So now when you're coming to buy that off me, you're now getting a relatively good deal because you're looking at the retail price now, which is higher than it was previously.
It's an even bigger discount almost.
So it's kind of like, even if it's not, if it goes under list, a bigger discount. If it goes over list, you're still saving on probably what a 2024 model would go for.
Yeah.
So we'll touch a bit more on that.
Well, maybe we jump into that. I mean, it's a topic we're going to talk about, but you've kind of rolled into it nicely. Maybe we'll jump into it. So this happens every year, right? Rolex throw their prices up. I think it's like every January, right?
Yeah. Around then, You look at a price increase every year. I was doing my research. Pretty much every year.
Yeah. I was doing my research into it, and actually, I think that it's only in the UK they've had a price increase. The US, the retail prices have stayed the same.
This year? Yeah.
I don't know why that is. Blew my mind a little bit, but...
Yeah, I don't know.
And it's typically like a 5% increase.
Typically 5% increase.
Yeah.
The further you go up the retail price ladder, which means that obviously you tend to find that obviously just from percentages, if something goes up 5%, that's 30,000. Something goes up 5%, that's 10 grand. There is a bit of a jump.
Yeah.
So,
I've got a couple of prices. Do you want me to break them down?
Yeah.
I won't go through all the models because we'll literally be here all day.
Let's just do a couple of
the main ones, right?
Yeah, the most requested stuff.
Black Steel Sub was 8,650. It's now 9,000.
Okay.
Steel Daytona was 12.7. Is now 13,200. Two-tone Daytona was 16,400. That's now 17,300. That's a 5.5% increase.
Which they actually go under. They'll go under list now.
GMT, Batman / Pepsi, they were 9,150. That's jumped up to 9,350. It's a 2.2% increase.
See, that's not a lot at all.
No. It mainly lies with the precious metals, like the Day Olive. That was 35,000. That's now 36,400. So that's a £1,400 increase. That's a big jump. The GMT two-tone was 13,850. That's now 14,600. That's a 5.4% increase. So, yeah, I think it jumps, obviously, the further up the ladder you go, like you say.
I wonder if Rolex look at their requests for each model and it...
Base it off that.
And then choose, based on the amount of demand that they have for each model. Like, do they then push the price up of the ones that are in more demand?
I mean, you say that, right? But in my opinion, I think the most requested watch is probably a Daytona, right?
Yeah, Steel Daytona. Yeah,
Steel Daytona. That's 12.7. It's now 13.2. So
500 quid.
Yeah, it's not. That's where they probably could have been really making the money on that.
Yeah, but the problem is they're probably capped on that watch to a certain limit.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, if tomorrow a Steel Daytona was 15 grand, people would still buy them, obviously, but there would be a little bit of a stickler. Bear in mind, they were 10 grand not even that long ago.
Yeah.
Like, all of a sudden now they are 50% more expensive.
Yeah, true.
So they do have a little bit of a limit. Where they can push the boat out a little bit further is the gold models and the platinum models. Really, they can push them up a little bit because they are made of a prestigious metal. So people paying 15 grand for steel models is reserved to AP and Patek. Yeah, really, and kind of up and above that, 20 grand plus is kind of Patek and AP kind of level. Rolex has always been cheaper than those. Yeah, forever.
Yeah, I get that as well. You've touched on what does that mean for the older models. What does that mean overall for the grey market, though?
The price increase?
Yeah.
Kind of what I touched on a couple of minutes ago about, being able to buy stuff relatively smart at the moment because stuff's coming into stock. I'll give you a prime example. So yesterday I was looking for a root beer. 126711 CHNR, I think is the reference, Steel and Rose root beer. I was quoted on a 2023 brand new, and I was quoted on a 2024 brand new, and both of those were £1,000 apart. Yeah. So it's the same watch, potentially 2-3 days of a difference. Yeah. And the date on the card, and you pay £1,000 more for it. So,
it's crazy.
The fact is, clients and customers are in a position at the moment where if a watch trader has had a watch in stock pre-increase, they'll be able to buy that watch relatively smart in terms of what a 2024 model will go for. So it's a good time to buy watches right now, especially with the price increase.
Is it a good thing then, the price increase? Does it tend to help you out more?
I think what it helps also is it helps the used stock be more the price increase on the used stock. So, for example, if you bought a day date last year and it was £33,000 and you bought it at list, right? What's the day date up to now? 34 something?
Well, the Olive's 35.
Right, take Olive out of the equation because they go over list.
Oh yeah, it'd be like 34.
Okay, so let's say the day dates went up just for round numbers 5%, which is going to be about £1,500, right?
Yeah.
So if you bought that at 33,000 last year, you would have lost money to sell that to the grey market because the list price was 33 or 32.7 or whatever it was. You're then going to sell that watch. You might take £1,500 loss, right? Now all of a sudden the price has increased by £1,500.
Yeah.
You're now in a position where you could potentially get out of that watch for close to what you paid just because of the price increase.
Yeah.
So it helps Rolex customers that are buying at list sell their watches to the grey market and get close to what they paid.
Yeah.
And in turn, that also brings up all the used watches in terms of value, because if a new watch is now £1,000 more expensive, then a used watch is now £1,000 more expensive than it was pre-increase. So
Yeah,
think of the used prices and the new prices moving in parallel with each other. So they just jump. If one goes up, the used one goes up.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, a new watch can't be $3,000 more than one that's 6 months older.
Sure.
So they have to move. They move together.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's interesting to see how it all kind of rolls into each other. We'll back to where we were before we were talking about the price increases. So, hot topic in the world right now, not even the watch world, just in the world. If you've been on social media, if you've watched the news, you would have seen it. Met Police have basically started this like sting operation.
Yeah, 3 years fucking too late.
It is,
might
but at
add.
least they're doing something, right? You've got to take it for what it is.
No,
It's
I'm
positives.
sorry. No, I'm not taking it for what it is. Sorry, I'm not. Because this has been going on for, the best part of 3 years.
Yeah.
3-4 years since COVID started. This watch crime has been going on since then. And the police have done hee-haw about
Yeah,
it
that is
until
true.
now.
Yeah.
They have zero interest in helping you if you call them and tell them your watch has been stolen.
It's not too late, though.
No, I know, but basically their attitude was, well, what are you doing walking about with expensive watch on anyway? It's a free country. London's one of the most, expensive cities in the world to live. It's one of the most fruitful cities in the world to live. There's, wealthy, rich people that come to London and spend their money on tourism and buying property and everything else. They should be able to wear watches without having to worry about people stealing them from them. And there seems to be, until now, very little repercussions and very little people getting caught who are stealing these watches.
Yeah,
I mean, BBC done a
true.
documentary on
Yeah,
it, the
no,
Rolex
it's true.
Rippers, right? And the guy's blatantly standing in that documentary telling the BBC, with a camera,
Jack to watch.
Oh yeah, I steal watches for a living, and I've stolen this and I've stolen that and I earn this. I mean, it's 2024. How is that allowed? And do you know what else I don't understand? If you had a fight in central London, you'd be caught a day later.
Yeah.
Right? There's cameras everywhere. All of a sudden, a guy steals a Rolex and he's invisible.
Yeah.
Like, how do they get away with it? Like, people are out literally in broad daylight stealing watches from famous people in the middle of the street and getting away with it.
No, I know, but and what they're doing, it's not groundbreaking. They could have rolled this out. It wasn't like it's a very simple idea.
Give
They
you
could
guys
have
an
rolled this
idea of
out.
what we're talking about. Basically, the Met Police have come up with this sting operation where they are letting officers. They're putting undercover officers out in central London at the hotspots where watch crime is really big. Places like Berkeley Square, Mayfair Bar, Sexy Fish, all around those areas. Where people are out late at night drinking, maybe wearing expensive watches. They're putting undercover officers with expensive watches on in those hotspots and then seeing if people try and rob them. If people try and rob them, they've got colleagues and other police officers around the corner that are then coming around and catching the guys that are robbing them, basically, which is fantastic, amazing work from the Met, and I think they need to do more of it. They're a bit late to the party, to be honest.
Yeah, but I think in doing
But better
this,
late than never.
Exactly. Yeah, I think word's getting around. The fact that it's now being like televised, it's on the news. It makes people feel a whole lot safer. And I think these criminals are now like, right, we can't just go around robbing people willy nilly.
Do you know what the thing is? Right, is what they need to introduce is lengthy jail sentences.
Yeah.
Right? If you steal a Rolex and you get caught stealing from someone, it needs to be a lengthy sentence. The risk must outweigh the reward. And
Yeah.
if the risk outweighs the reward, then it will bring the crime down. Even since the sting operation, what did you tell me? 15%
That's it.
decrease.
So I've got it.
Oh, so for every 100 watches now, all of a sudden, only 85 are being stolen.
Yeah,
Still not good enough.
but
That
this
needs
is
to
it.
be 50%.
They're raving about kind of the results. So they rolled it out in March.
Yeah.
I think they wanted to go kind of under the radar with it, so that's why it's only just coming on the news in January. But they've released the stats between March and October. It was a 15.8% reduction in watch robberies. It's led to 31 arrests. This is what, over a space of 6 months maybe? 31 arrests, 27 successful charges, leading to 21 convictions to date. But what the fact that surprised me the most is 40% of them are committed in Soho. I mean, it is next to Mayfair.
I mean, yeah,
Soho's
Mayfair, Regent Street, Soho. So like they're literally like a stone's throw from each
Yeah,
other.
yeah.
The only thing that I would say is that more people are likely to be out drunk late in Soho than they are to be out
that's
drunk
where all
late
the
in
clubs
Mayfair.
are.
You
Yeah.
often find that people are out drunk late in Mayfair have bodyguards with them anyway. So the chance of stealing someone's watch there is probably a lot slimmer. But yeah, I'm glad they've had a crackdown on it. I think it's about time they had a crackdown, and I really like the way they're going about it. They just need to keep it up, and hopefully they get the funding to do it. I know the police are underfunded at the moment, and that's probably why they are choosing to, give other crimes a bit more attention than they do the watch crimes. But I think it's about time they started giving it a bit of attention, because it's really... It must be affecting the tourism industry a little bit. People must be thinking, well, I'd rather go to Dubai than go to London because, I can wear my watches and I can do whatever I want. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a good thing.
But I think the hotspots tend to usually be the Knightsbridge area, the Mayfair area. Obviously,
the hotspots are where there are bars
Marylebone.
and nightclubs, and people that live there have got money.
Yeah, so if you do own watches and you're living in London, what's up, like top tips? How are you staying safe?
For me, if I go to London and I'm out wearing a watch,
Well, maybe
three things.
Yeah.
Let me 3 things, right? Wear a long sleeve. Yeah, always have a long sleeve on. Well, if you're wearing a jacket like this, I would wear a long sleeve t-shirt underneath. You don't want to have your watch on show when you're walking around the street, drinking in a bar, whatever. I really wouldn't have my watch on show if I'm doing that. The only time I'm happy to wear my watch, a t-shirt or short sleeve, if I'm going to a restaurant, I'm getting an Uber to the restaurant, I'm jumping out the Uber, I'm walking into the restaurant, I'm sitting down in a nice restaurant, in a nice environment. It's not a hot spot like a Sexy Fish or somewhere like that where they have like renowned bad reputation for people getting watches stolen from them. I don't go to any of those places because of that. And I'm not saying that those places are bad places. I'm just saying that's where the hot spots are for people stealing watches. In and around that area, Berkeley Square area, Mayfair Bar area, kind of that's where everyone gets their watches stolen. So I would say get an Uber to the restaurant door, get a car to the restaurant door, walk into the restaurant, make sure you've got long sleeves on. If you're sitting down, you're in a nice restaurant, you're in a nice environment, I don't feel uncomfortable wearing my watch there. And then when I'm leaving, I put my jacket on, I've got long sleeves, I go into my car that's waiting outside, I don't leave the restaurant until the car's outside, I jump in the car and I go to wherever I'm going. Always have long sleeves on. And don't be sitting in a restaurant, drinking, getting drunk, flashing a big watch about. It's just not worth it. Also, the way that you need to look at it is, quite frankly, I know I sell watches for a living, right? But a watch makes you feel good. When you wear a nice watch, a nice expensive watch, it makes you feel good about yourself, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, do you remember
100%.
that time you went to Glen Eagles and I gave you the Rolex, the Daytona, the Rose Daytona to wear?
Yeah.
And you were like, oh, this is like, it makes you feel good, right?
I was the man that day.
It makes you feel important, it makes you feel good, gives you a little bit of energy, and you makes your ego a bit bigger, which is important for guys, right? Guys like to feel like that.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of the reason why guys wear watches. A lot of the reason why guys wear watches is to impress women, right? So when you actually think about what a watch does, how many times have you been on a night out with an expensive watch on and a woman said to you, oh, I love your watch? Never. Like it rarely happens.
That's how many times
right?
a woman's ever talked to me on a night out.
It never happens, mate. It's other men. It's other men. It's like a chauvinistic ego thing for other men. So once you get over the fact that it's actually for showing off to other men, if I'm going out drinking and I want to enjoy myself and get drunk, I'm not wearing a watch.
Yeah.
If I'm going out for a nice dinner and I'm going out, with my friends to have a nice dinner, enjoy myself, not get steaming drunk and go out and party till 3 a.m, but I'm going for a nice dinner, I'm going to have a few beers, then I'm going to go home.
Yeah,
by all means, I'm wearing a watch. But just be careful. Just don't be stupid. Don't be flashing it in taxis and doing whatever.
Yeah.
Just be cautious and be careful about where you're going and who you're spending time with and who can see you. And that's it.
It's funny. So you say don't flash it in a taxi, and people must be like, why? So I've also watched the news quite a lot this week, and I'm hearing the term like watch spotter, but no one's actually going into detail about what a watch spotter is. So what is a watch spotter, and why do you mention about taxis?
There's been a few stories previously where Uber drivers have spotted passengers wearing watches and have maybe text someone that they know to say, like, I'm dropping this guy off in this location, he's got an expensive watch on, blah, blah, blah. So they get maybe like a 500 quid tip for that or whatever. So that's kind of what like a spotter is. Sometimes you'll find in maybe some of the areas that are hotspots for watch robberies, you find some of the bouncers on the doors are looking to see what you're doing, if you're wearing a nice watch, if you're drunk, if you're being lackadaisical, with what you're doing, then you see that happens quite a lot. But listen, it happens to people that are sober as well. It's not just drunk people it happens to. So you just need to be careful. Walking around London, on the streets of London at the moment, with a short sleeve on an expensive watch is a no-go for me.
But then
if I'm walking around London and I've got an expensive watch on, I've got long sleeves on. Simple as that.
Yeah. Well, then that kind of rolls me into the next question. Is it a good idea to be buying expensive watches?
Listen, expensive watches will sell regardless of the amount of crime.
Yeah.
Like, I've honestly can say hand on heart that I've not seen a decrease in watch sales because of watch crime.
Yeah.
People still love watches.
I agree. Yeah,
and there's a lot
100%.
of times that people can wear watches to events that there is no risk of any watch crime.
Yeah.
You know, weddings, parties, birthdays, like there's loads of times when people are going to things and events and maybe it's a work event or maybe it's, there's loads of times where wearing a watch is applicable and it's not going to, central London to get drunk.
Yeah.
You just need to be selective about when you wear your watch and be smart and don't be stupid about it. And if you're not stupid about it, generally you're pretty safe.
Yeah. And then what other cities? London's obviously like
Barcelona's
the main.
terrible for it.
We'll talk about the UK first.
Italy's notoriously bad. Barcelona's bad. City-wise in the UK, it's pretty much just London. I mean, there is some small bits of crime, in other places. It's just concentrated to London. That's where the wealth is. That's where the concentration of wealth is. So you find that that's where all the crime is.
But you never hear any of that in Glasgow.
You never hear any of it in Glasgow. Thankfully, Glasgow's a small city. If people started robbing watches in Glasgow, people would know who it was, what was happening, and there would be an uproar. Yeah. So that's the benefit of being in Glasgow, versus London. But there's a lot of negatives about being in Glasgow versus London.
That's it. Day to day, what is like? We won't talk about business first. Just like day to day, what's the differences between like London and Glasgow?
Coffees are cheaper, food's cheaper.
Pints about 80p.
Yeah, just living in general is cheaper.
Yeah, there's a place not far from us where you can buy a 3-course lunch for £4.
Yeah, I mean,
shouts out the Star Bar.
The Star Bar, yeah, you see that.
I mean, the dessert is jelly and ice cream.
Yeah, you see that on TikTok, don't you? Quite a lot of people are like a £5 lunch at the Star Bar. It's like lentil soup. What's the main course? Like steak.
Oh, I haven't looked
into
it that much. I just know it's jelly and ice cream.
You definitely would get that in London, but generally it's more cost effective to live here.
Yeah.
If you're just talking about the money side of things, obviously housing costs and everything else is way more cost effective. Just living on a day-to-day basis is more cost effective. Things are cheaper. Going out for lunch or dinner is way cheaper. That's a general living costs are less.
Yeah. I mean, I've just bought a flat and the flat is probably like maybe if it was in London, it'd be 6 times the price.
Oh yeah, easily.
Trying to work it out.
Property prices are a lot less, but you get what you pay for in London, and unfortunately, the amount of foreign money invested in London apartments that are lying empty, 24/7, forces the prices through the roof, and it's unfortunate for people. Like I feel sorry for people who live in London who are trying to get on the property ladder, who are young professionals, maybe like me and you. Young professionals. Can't believe I just described myself as a young professional.
Put me in that bracket.
I'm not young anymore, mate. But yeah, people trying to get on the property ladder in London.
Impossible, mate.
It's got to be so difficult. If you think like 2-bed flat, 600 grand, right? And like let's say outskirts of London, maybe somewhere like Chiswick or somewhere like that, 600 grand, bog standard flat, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you save that money if you are 18, 19, 20 years old? How do you get 60 grand in your bank account for your deposit? Yeah,
no, I mean, I've still got pals who are like 30. I mean, they're more than happy being in this situation, but they're like house sharing and they're paying that amount of rent and they'd stay in a bedroom.
See, the thing is, though, like, if you add up that amount of rent that you've paid over the last 10 years, it's astronomical.
Yeah.
Astronomical.
But they're not buying a house for that either, so...
I don't know. It's a bit of a false... It's just a bad cycle.
Yeah.
The money goes to the rich people. And it's just how it will be until the prices come down a bit.
Yeah.
But I don't think they ever will.
No. And it's important for us, like, the shopping side of it. Where are you shopping in Glasgow? Because I personally think the shopping scene's amazing up here. I quite like it.
In Glasgow?
Yeah, I quite like it. It's obviously not as much.
The problem that you have is that the collections don't get recycled as much as they do down south.
No.
So you don't see new stuff all the time.
Yeah.
You'll see the same stuff in shops for 6 months, a year. There's the odd new thing, but you don't get a constant like rush of new items.
Every time you go back in the shop, you're not going to.
Whereas when you go to London, every time you go in, there's new stuff there all the time. The shops in London get all the cool bits. Fashion in Glasgow is a little bit behind London. People are kind of stuck in what they want to wear, which is fine. Like, nothing wrong with that. But if you're kind of into your fashion and you like kind of futuristic, maybe new brands that are coming out, you'll find that you just don't get them in Glasgow. You just only find them in London. So the shopping scene is different. Yeah, I mean, obviously some good shops in Glasgow, but yeah, it's just not. It just doesn't touch London.
And then in terms of like a business environment, what's the kind of differences between London and Glasgow?
So obviously I lived in London for nearly a year. It's a very, very cohesive business environment, London. You'll find that people are willing to help you without asking for anything.
Yeah.
And in Glasgow, that is very rarely the case in Glasgow. Glasgow's a very small place. Unfortunately, a lot of people like to see you doing well, but just don't want to see you doing better than them.
Yeah.
So
good way to put it.
I don't like, people call it a jealous place. I don't really like that term. I just think it's a small town mentality, and I think everyone who's born in Glasgow has a little bit of it in them.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. I wish people had broader horizons and could see further than, the end of their street, but it's just how it is. And I've got a little bit of it in me as well. It's just everyone from Glasgow is like that. And until you move to a different city or experience a different city for what it is, like London, you'll find that making connections is so much easier. People are so much more willing to help you. If you meet a guy in a bar and he's like, oh, what do you do for a living? Or a jewellery business, you're like, oh, my friend's got a jewellery business, let me send you his number, I'm going to connect you. That just wouldn't happen in Glasgow. People be like, all right, cool, mate. Yeah, good for you. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's just the willingness to further your business on is a lot less in Glasgow, and that's purely because in London it's just a rat race. Everyone's doing the same thing. Everyone's trying to survive. Everyone's trying to pay their rent. Everyone's trying to become a millionaire. So everyone's trying to help anyone they can. And probably the amount of times that conversations have been had in bars and restaurants that have then led to something that's, made people a lot of money is probably way more than you would think. So the business environment is totally different.
Do you see a difference in the clients you deal with?
Generally, clients are wealthier that live in wealthier places. That's just a given. It's like if you go to fucking Monaco, you're going to find clients that have got more money than if you go to Newcastle. Yeah. Do you know? Like, not saying that there's no money in Newcastle, but I'm just saying or even Glasgow or Manchester or wherever, clients in places of centres of wealth have more money. That's just a generalisation.
So then you saying that, do you find people are kind of more like appreciative up here? So if you sell a watch to a guy up here, is he like more appreciative and he's like in love with the watch? As London, no,
it's the opposite.
Wow,
it's the opposite. Yeah, I find that often clients with more money have, because it's kind of weird, right? So because they live in a city that has so much money and there's so many people buying luxury goods, that the customer service from those luxury goods sales people and whether it be cars, clothes, watches, whatever, the customer service goes out, really isn't that important because there's so many inquiries coming in every day that they don't really lean on their customer service. Whereas in a city like, what I'm trying to get is they are so used to kind of bad customer service. When you give them really good customer service, which is what I try and do all the time, they're really appreciative of that. Sometimes I think in a smaller city, people think they're doing you a favour if they buy a watch from you, which some people don't, and some people are super, super nice, and I've got some great clients, but some people do have that kind of, I'm doing you a favour by selling you this watch or buying you this watch. So you often find that a lot of people who live in smaller cities travel to the big cities to do their deals and buy and sell watches in London. So loads of people from Glasgow do that, loads of people from Manchester will do that.
I suppose it
loads of people
of
from Newcastle will do that. They kind of want to go down there and do that, which is completely fine. But that's why I transitioned my business from Glasgow to 50% Glasgow, 50% London, because, without a doubt, eventually in Glasgow, you can only get to a certain level where people are only buying a certain amount of watches. Are you selling 300-400 grand watches in Glasgow? Very rarely. Are people selling 300-400 grand watches in London? Yes, they are, and it's a lot more common than it is in Glasgow. So that's probably the difference, I would say.
We'll move on to another city now, and we kind of got a lot of feedback on yesterday's podcast. We had a question that was asking about the Manchester Watch Co situation.
Yeah.
Obviously, few guys who watch the podcast who aren't kind of so clued up with the watch side of things. Maybe just explain the situation a little bit. What's going on? Why are people so interested in it?
Let me give you my take on what happened, right?
Yeah.
Some of this might not be factually accurate, but I'm going to give you my take on what I think happened.
Yeah.
COVID time happens. Watches are selling for crazy numbers, right? They're coming in, they're going out the same day. There's no hard sell. It's not difficult to sell stuff. You would not have to have a brain between your ears to be able to sell watches during COVID, right? Doesn't make a difference if you had zero education or you were the most educated man on earth. You could sell watches during COVID. Wasn't difficult. If someone would have given me £100 million during COVID, it still wouldn't have been enough money for me to buy and sell the amount of watches that I could have sold. What I think happened with the Manchester Watch Hub scenario is that he got into business when the COVID market had happened. Right? So he maybe started, I don't know if he started a little bit before, he started at the start, or he started 6 months in. I'm not entirely sure. But my take on it is that he started during there. Watches were coming and going so quickly that money was easy to make, right, for a lot of people. So they then get used to that happening all the time. So then all of a sudden, 2-3 years of it happens, then all of a sudden that just becomes the norm in the watch industry. Everybody's buying and selling stuff constantly. Oh, it doesn't matter. People are lax because people are earning money. He then starts taking consignment deals off customers and offering them higher prices than they can get anywhere else. And he's under no illusion that he's going to sell it because it's a COVID market. So if he tells someone they can get them 35, 40 grand for a root beer and everyone else is telling them he can get them 32, then he's under no illusion that he's going to sell it because he knows even if I keep it for 2 months, the prices are going up anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be able to get rid of it eventually and then I'll just consign the guy his money back and blah, blah, blah. Then all of a sudden at tail end 22, prices start coming down. He's had all these consignment deals that he's here at.
He's paid high for.
Right? So he's either sold the watches to pay other consignment deals that he's promised customers up here at.
Yeah.
And the only way that he can then feed those deals and that money back to those customers is take more consignment from other customers. Right? But the market's on the way down. So he's actually not selling any watches. So he's then having to take consignment deals off other customers, sell them, whether that be cheap to traders or cheap here, cheap there. So he's robbing from Peter to pay Paul. Eventually what happens is you can only rob so many Peters to pay the Pauls before the Peters start to realise you're robbing their money to pay Paul. So then that's kind of what happened. And then eventually people were going, right, well, where's my consignment? Mate, I gave you that consignment deal 3 months ago. Where's my watches? He was trying to recycle the money because he was thinking, oh, I'll get it back from this one, I'll get it back from that one. Eventually, it was just a house of cards and it just all fell in. And it's so mad how quickly the money can add up when you're doing those consignment deals. You could do 10 consignment deals, you know, you could be 250 grand in the hole. And you're, you know what I mean? All of a sudden, you've lost control of the situation and the market's on its arse. No one's buying any watches. And you've got all this money you need to try and get back from consignment deals for watches that you've previously sold and spent the money doing X, Y, and Z in a market that's flying.
Yeah.
You know, where you're going on holidays, you're doing this, you're buying cars, you're buying houses, you're blah, 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 whatever. You spent all the money, now the market's on its arse, no one's buying, no one's selling. How are you going to pay all those people back?
Poor Peter, poor Paul.
Yeah, exactly. So then all of a sudden, some Pauls got paid back. Some Pauls didn't get paid back. Some Peters definitely didn't get paid back. And that's what you'll see his Trustpilot reviews. So many people are on. Do you know the funny thing is? He's actually a nice kid.
Well, you've dealt with him previously, right?
Honestly, hand on heart, I don't think it was intentional. He's actually a nice kid. He's made a massive blunder. And what he's done is unforgivable. And I would never forgive someone that had done that because... You're taking clients' trust, using their money to do whatever you're doing with it, whether you're paying someone else or whatever, and that is completely unforgivable, and I would never welcome him back into the watch industry for that. But my dealings with him, and every time I've met him, he's actually been a nice kid. So it's a shitty situation. People are under, you know, extreme pressure because now everyone's feeling the pinch, and people that have given consignment to him might be 30 grand. That 30 grand will go a long way.
Well, just for the people at home who might not know, what does consignment really mean?
Consignment, basically, let's say tomorrow you come to me and you say, I've got a Submariner date, I'd like you to buy it what would you buy it for? And I'll say to you, I'd pay £9,000 for it, right? You say to me, oh, I was looking for closer to 10. And I say to you, right, well, if I consign the watch from you, I could maybe sell it for 10.5, 10.6, and then I'll take 5-6% consignment fee. Whatever that leaves you back at, then that'll return you closer to 10, and it gets you a little bit more money when you come to sell your watch.
You just got to be a bit patient with it.
You have to be patient. There's obviously a time period involved. I maybe do 5 consignment deals a year because I don't like the dynamic of it. I don't like having watches in stock that belong to customers.
Yeah.
It's an odd dynamic. Customers are then maybe asking for their watches back when you've got watches to show people. Like, they start being on your case every 3 days. Oh, have you sold that watch yet? Have you sold that watch yet? I just don't like the environment that it breeds. So I don't do a lot of it. I only do it for people that I've done a lot of work for before and I understand how they work. But yeah, that's how a consignment deal works. So you basically you can give people a little bit more back if you consign their watches. You don't have to outlay the money to stock the watch, and therefore the risk isn't. You're not taking on any risk.
So this Manchester Watch Co guy, he has in stock all these watches that people have given him.
Yeah,
they've willingly given him.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's where it makes things slightly sticky, right? Is there anything these guys can do in this situation?
Well, it's a civil matter, isn't it? It's not really a police or a criminal matter because they have agreed to give him the watches.
Yeah.
I don't know about the ins and outs of contracts and everything else that are applied to that. Whether there was a consignment contract or not, I'm not entirely sure. As I say, I don't know all the facts. I'm just giving you my take on it.
Yeah. And we get asked about it a lot. It's always hard to kind of give our 50p to that many questions. So it's good that we've addressed it. Hopefully it kind of leaves the DMs alone a little bit. But moving on from that, client loyalty.
Client loyalty.
How important is that to you?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's an ego thing for me, I think. If I'm being completely honest, it just breeds my ego. Like, I like when clients come back and they've had good service and they want to be loyal to me. The client during the week is a prime example. He's probably one of the most loyal guys ever. I've been dealing with him for a few years. He's bought a couple of watches.
Can we go into this situation?
Yeah, I'm going to tell him about the situation. So he basically called me. He was like, look, mate, I'm going to Dubai on Wednesday. He called me last week. So he's like, I'm going to Dubai on Wednesday. I want a Santos DLC for Dubai, which is a Cartier Santos with the black ceramic coating. All black watch, right? Black ceramic coating. Case is black, bezel's black, dial's black, strap is black leather or black rubber. So I was like, yeah, mate, no worries, blah, blah, blah. So I managed to find him one. The guy let me down on the day that I got the deposit for the watch. So I then had a scramble over the weekend when I was in Paris to try and find him the watch. Yeah. I had a few beers in Paris and I was like looking for the watch, obviously because I know he's going to Dubai on Wednesday. So I need to get the watch in the UK on Monday or Tuesday latest so that we can deliver it to him before he goes. So I'm looking. I come across one. I'm like, boom, that's the one. So I said, hi, mate, how much is it? He's like, oh, the price. I said, done. Send it to me. I'll wire you when I get it. So it's fine. So he sent it. The watch arrived on Monday. I wired him in the morning before I'd seen the watch. I go pick up the watch, open the watch box, and I'm like, fuck, it's the wrong watch. So I had actually bought him the stainless steel one with the black bezel and the black dial. But it comes on a rubber strap as well.
Black rubber strap.
Black rubber strap. Yeah. So the only difference between that watch and the other one is a slightly lighter dial, and the case is like a dark stainless steel.
It's not a kick off the arse a million miles away from
it. It's as close as it could be. Right? It's as close as it could be. And the guy that sent me the picture sent me it on the black rubber strap. He didn't send me it on the stainless steel strap, otherwise I would have known. So I was like, oh, fuck, we've bought him the wrong one. Obviously, then it's too late to go and get him the correct one. So I was like, shit, what are we going to do? So I was like, I'll just call him and tell him. So I called him and I was like, look, mate, like, it's my mistake. Like, listen, have it for what it costs me. I don't want any money on top of it. Blah, blah, blah. It's totally my mistake. If you don't want it, I completely understand. I'll send it back. Don't worry about it. I'll find you the one you want. It's just not going to be in time for your holiday on Wednesday. And he was like, oh, send me a few pictures and I'll have a look at it. Sent him a few pictures and he's like, oh, mate, like, I actually really like it. I was like, look, mate, just have it at cost. He's like, no, mate, don't worry, like, I'll give you 500 quid on top of what you paid.
You've still done the work.
Like, that's client loyalty.
Yeah.
Like, that is someone who appreciates your time, appreciates the effort, and appreciates the honesty.
Yeah.
From me. Another watch dealer might have just sent him that watch, and
Hope he didn't
pretended
notice.
that it was what it was, and then waited to hear his feedback. But in this game, mate, honesty is the best policy,
I
and
agree.
that goes for traders and that goes for retail customers alike. See, if every trader was just honest about what they were doing and when they were going to do it, it'd be a much happier place. But people are just telling me white lies everywhere just to get deals done, and then all of a sudden something happens and that wee white lie becomes a big issue.
Yeah.
But client loyalty is great. It's also good when someone comes back, isn't it? It makes you feel like you've done a good job, and it makes you feel like you've done things correctly. There's nothing worse than someone that maybe comes to you and then goes to someone else, and then you think, fuck, could I have handled that situation a bit better? Could I have done this? Could I have done that?
Well, you do things for people that you probably wouldn't do for
But
like a brand new client,
There's a
right?
difference. If that guy calls me that bought the Cartier next week and asks me, I'm jumping through hoops to get him what he wants. Best believe it.
Yeah.
If a guy calls me, 2 days later that's asked me 50 times for a price on something but's never bought anything and jumps between 5 watch dealers to get a price and never buys anything, and he asks me for something, I'm not jumping through hoops to get him it. I might quote him on it, and if he's serious, he might buy it. But treat people how you get treated. And people just expect you to be, they think they're doing you a favour by buying a watch from you. But I'm like, mate, trust me, it's a lot of work and it's a lot of risk involved in buying expensive watches. And if you don't appreciate my time and the amount of effort that we go through to try and get you the best deal possible, and that's so relevant now in 2024. I mean, that's what 24 is all about. It's about good deals. It's about people buying watches that are well priced, and there's a lot of work that goes into that. So client loyalty is great. I love it. When I don't get client loyalty, it annoys me a little bit, but as with it is. But I'm just a worrier at heart, mate, so that just doesn't sit well with me at all.
And then in terms of retention, what percentage would you say of your customers are returning customers?
I think if you look at 40%, something like that, and around
good.
there. Yeah, good.
That's really good.
Yeah. It's a personal service. I try and give a personal service. Yeah. It's not. So many watch dealers are so caught up in just flinging watches out the door.
Yeah.
Like, I try and give a personal service. Like, we were up in Gleneagles the other day, but picking a watch up. We sat with the guy for an hour and a half.
Lovely
talking
guy.
crap about watches, talking crap about football, like just everything. It's a personal service. You need to leave a little bit of an imprint on someone's mind for them to then go, do you know what? He was a nice guy, a really good service. Thanks very much. I'll go back to him if I ever get anything in the future. And that's what it's all about. It's about building that client relationship with me. So that's what I like. Is the service part of it. I think is super important for me.
Do you ever get clients who come back to you? So if you sold them a watch and they paid big money, obviously times have changed a little bit.
Yeah.
3 years ago. Do you ever get them wanting you to buy that watch back, and how does that conversation typically go?
Look, unfortunately, there are some clients that are in a position that they've lost a lot of money because they bought watches at their peak.
Yeah.
If you had bought a watch from me during the peaks, of COVID, I would have made it explicitly clear that I didn't think that this value was going to last forever. I remember specifically selling a watch to a client, and he was paying almost 4 times the retail price.
Wow.
For a watch that was mass produced and had been out since 2017. And I said to him at the time, I said, look, I'm happy to supply the watch for you. I said, but these prices are going to come down and I don't want you to lose loads of money. I said, please don't blame me if in 6 months' time you call me and I tell you that it's worth half of what you paid.
So you do relay that information kind of from the offset?
Especially to people that I know and I've got a relationship with, because it's in my interest to make sure that I look after clients' investments. You know, I don't want clients coming to me and losing fortunes. They're never going to come back.
No, yeah,
so,
for sure.
It's about future business. It's about longevity. It's about long-term relationships.
100%.
I've got relationships that I've had for 10 years from clients that have bought stuff from me 10 years ago. And that's the most important thing in this industry. It's someone could walk down the street and buy a watch off anyone. Right, you want to be the first person in someone's mind when they think about, right, I want to buy and sell my watch. Who I've had great advice from before? Who am I going to go to? And I've got clients that will just come to me for advice. Okay, they might not buy something. They've bought loads of stuff in the past. We've got a good relationship. I mean, Steph's the prime example.
Yeah.
He was a client before he was one of my mates, and now he's one of my closest pals, and I've been on holiday with him 3 or 4 times, and I play golf with him nearly every week. He's one of my closest pals now.
That's true.
And he was a client before. Never knew him before. And I've gave him some good advice. He's earned some money. He's lost a little bit of money as well. But listen, like everyone, I've lost more money than anyone during COVID.
Yeah.
So clients that are losing money, I've lost it as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just you.
Do you ever get them holding you responsible or getting angry at you?
Yeah, you do get that sometimes. Listen, you're a big boy. It's your own money. You spend it and do what you want with it as you see fit. It's not up to me to tell you what to do and what not to do with your money. I can advise you as best I can and give you the most accurate advice and give you my take on what I think the market's going to be like in a year's time. But if you want to spend the money, you want to spend the money. I'm not holding a gun to your head telling you to spend it. So,
just coming to the end of the podcast, we've got the Insta questions to do.
Cool. Yeah.
But before that, it reminded me, future watch brand.
Yeah. So,
did this come for you when you were in Paris? Because I don't know what you're about to say.
It's a watch brand that I've had a bit of an affinity with since I was young, right?
Right.
So it's Frank Muller.
So it's not new.
It's Frank Muller, right? For those of you who don't really know, kind of big when I was younger, they done like a kind of oblong shaped watch.
Yeah, that's right.
Famous watch was a kind of crazy hours where the hour it wasn't 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on the dial. It was like 1, 7, 9, 2, 6. Like, so the hour hand used to jump between the numbers.
Mad.
So it's called crazy hours or crazy time or something like that. Anyway, they used to be popular when I was young. I'm talking like when I was maybe a teenager. But they were famous for having loads of different colours. So we'd have pink bands, blue bands, black bands. Frank Miller King Conquistor or King or something was like quite a famous one the rappers used to wear. But I feel like they do have a lot of smaller watches on colourful bands.
So this goes back to exactly what we were talking about last week.
They're not super small, but they're like in between maybe like a Tank Louis that we've got in stock right now.
If you're looking for a Tank Louis, hit us up.
Yeah, they're like in between that and maybe like a Daytona, but they're like a square oblong shape.
Right.
So it's kind of like a Cartier kind of shape.
Yeah.
But they've got loads of different colours. So the dials are blue, pink, red, yellow. The straps are yellow, blue, pink, red. Like there's loads of crazy colours, and they're really cheap. So I feel like they're going to have a bit of a resurgence this year.
How much are they?
I mean, you'll find them anywhere from 3-4 grand up to 10, 15 grand. Just depends on which one you get. But some of them got diamond bezels. You know, they're just really cool. I really like them.
Yeah.
They're cool watches. So I think now that you'll see in 2024 the market be extremely price led, like we spoke about in the last podcast. I think what you'll find is that people will be looking elsewhere for value. So you'll be going, well, look at that. It's Frank Miller. That's really cool. I really like it. It's only 4 grand. You know, is it going to be ever less than 4 grand? No.
Yeah. Right. I've just got a text to say that we are almost out of time. So we'll just hit the last few questions. We'll do it really quick, quick fire ones.
Okay.
Time and time luxury, biggest upside and biggest downside to dealing with luxury watches.
Biggest upside's got to be wearing the watches. Like living, you know, as a kid, my passion was to just wear a nice watch. I just loved watches as a kid, and I always used to look up to people who wore like cool watches. I always had a mad interest. So the biggest upside is definitely being able to wear the watches and handle them every day. I think that's the biggest upside. Biggest downside is the risk involved in buying and selling luxury watches. You could sometimes send 30-40 grand to someone you don't know.
Yeah. At DVNOVO, best watch for 10,000. We get asked this a lot. It's obviously a very popular budget.
Best watch? I would just always advise someone to buy what they like. For me, if I had 10 grand to spend and I wanted to buy a watch, I'd be buying a Cartier Tank Louis, or I don't know, buy what you like and you'll love it for the money you spend on it, because that's like, as long as you do some research into the market and you buy it smart, then you'll be absolutely fine. You just need to, it's so important to buy something that you like and that you see that value in. Do you know what I mean? There's no point in buying something that is, in your mind, overpriced. Then you're going to look at it every day and think, I've paid too much money for that. Yashak.1.
How did you get started in the industry?
There's a few videos on this on my TikTok. I'll do a quick synopsis.
Quick
because
synopsis.
we're running out of time.
But
so basically left uni, worked for an engineering firm. It was like a 2-hour drive away in the morning. I was depressed every day when I was going there. I used to have a Cornish pasty for my lunch every single day. It was a great pasty shop around the corner from the place. It was like 4-hour journey every single day getting to and from work. The career progression and wage progression within the place was basically none.
Minimal.
People that were 25 were earning the same as people that were 48, 50 years old. So
that wasn't me.
I looked at it and I thought, this can't be the rest of my life. So my parents had bought me a watch for my birthday. I sold the watch, made 700 quid on it. And then
when was this? This must have been when you were 20th birthday?
Yeah, 1920. I kind of thought that, right, okay, like I've got a chance to sell watches, and I was really interested in them, and kind of sold that first watch, made 700 quid, and thought, okay, maybe there's something to look at here. And at the time, watches were 5-6 grand each, so I had the money to start. And then I just started from there and started buying and selling watches and
Yeah.
rolled it in, and now 10 years later we're sitting here.
Yeah, I think that's important as well to give timescales on these things. Goes to show like where you've kind of come from.
Yeah.
And
Basically, at the time, a Rolex Daytona 116520 reference was $5,000 to buy.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden that watch is $20,000.
yeah,
So
we get asked this a lot, so maybe it's an episode 3 conversation to have. How to do it, how to get started in it.
Yeah.
Take it from there.
yeah.
Daniel James Christmas, do a wardrobe reveal.
It'd just be like a Zara fucking cloakroom.
Yeah, just be walking into Zara.
Zara cloakroom with like some expensive trainers and some expensive accessories, but that's about it.
I'll do one more. Nicholas Warner, do you think prices on Nautilus, Royal Oak, Day, etc. will fall?
Not now.
No?
Not now. They're at the point that they were pre-COVID. Demand is coming back into the market. Do I think they're going to, exponentially rise anytime soon? No. They're not going to fall now. If they were going to fall any further, it would have happened by now. The quietest months were last year. They haven't come down any. New stuff is still achieving a premium over list. No, I think all the big hard-hitting models from those brands are definitely going to stay strong.
Good. Well, thank you,
Us, all
boys
done.
and girls. That's us, all done.
That was episode 2. I think that was a good episode. I thought it was. I felt like I was talking a lot in that episode.
You were. I mean, it's your name on the door, mate.
Yeah,
you're
I
the
was
talker.
fucking talking loads,
I'm just
but,
the question master.
But no, it was good. That was episode 2, guys. Thanks a lot.
Keep the
and
support coming.
Yeah,
Comments,
keep the support coming. We'll see
shares.
you. We'll see you for episode 3.
Episode 3, couple weeks.
Sweet, done. Thanks, guys.
Gosh. Oh. Sorry, when I got that, I was just like, how long was that? Fucking about an hour, man.
Jesus, over an hour.
Over an hour?
Just over.
An hour and 6.
Fucking hell.
It's just that we've got somebody